Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3. I'm finally here to bring you the instruction manual. I'm also going to explain how to print out maps, but that's pretty easy, so that probably won't take very long. I finally got everything put into a Google Drive, which took me way too long to figure out how to use, but I figured it out finally. So in this Google Drive, which is called Inscryption stuff, and I'll be sharing it with, it's going to be in the description of this video, and it will also be on the Discord. I'm posting it on the Discord early. Anywho, so in here, for example, we have the cards, which just has all the cards. You can download them easy. It's got the rares in a folder, the summons, which is like the, the rabbit and the starvation, the stuff that you don't have in the game normally. Of course, there's things for rares, uncommon cards, and if we go back, we got other bits, which just has stuff for the box and all the maps. So all the maps are in other bits. There's a total of 13 maps, and they're right here. I also have the list card right here, which is, this is all the what are they called? The tribes explained on this card. It's not necessarily a super cool looking thing, but it's just basically showing a picture of each one of the tribes, and on top of it is written the tribe that it's actually part of. But then, of course, we got the sigil add-ons. This is all the add-ons, not just sigils, but they're all in here. And small cards and the backs of cards. So here's the backs up top, and then down here is all the small cards. And finally, in this folder, which is the folder that you're going to want to go into if you're making the book. And if you haven't made the book yet, obviously you can use these for, or if you haven't made anything else yet, you can use these to do the other stuff. But in here, we're going to find the things for the book. Now here I have the document for the sigils printing, the small cards printing. This one that's just AA Word is for the regular card printing, which I wanted to share those because people are asking if I could share those because they were having trouble printing. So if you have Word, you can download these files and then edit them to have the pictures you want on there. And then you can print them, and you can use the front, this one for the backs as well. You just print it again with the backs on instead of the fronts. And finally, here we've got, well, down here we have maps. So this would show you how to. This is just a document with the right size maps. So if we go into this document quick, it's going to open it here. But if you download it, you can bring it into Word yourself. Open it into Word, and then you can properly print it or like change it or whatever, because right here I don't think you can really edit anything. You can just view it and download it. But if you download it, you can edit it, and then you can you can change it to however you want. But basically, this is how big the maps are. So if you download this document, you can have them the same size. But other than that, let's go over the book now. I have given you guys a document which is called Book 0, Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, Book 4, Book 5, 6, and 8. I don't know why I didn't put a 7. There is no 7. You're not missing a 7. I just didn't make a 7 for some reason. Anyway, basically, these documents there's a few pages on each one, and I'm going to explain that in a minute, but you'll print out the things, and right now I'm going to bring up a video of me showing it in real life, but you'll print out each one of these documents once, and then you'll use tape to stick them together. Basically, print them out, cut them out, and then stick them together, basically as I've shown on the video that I'm going to show right now. Basically, for the instruction booklet, what I did is I took packing tape, and I taped together each one of those pages. If you can see up here, they are kind of taped together in certain patterns. And on the Word documents, of course, I have labeled basically the edge of each page. So this page is labeled 1 along with this page because this edge is the first edge. This edge right here is the second edge, third edge, fourth edge, and that's how I've labeled all of the booklet pages. And some pages, for example, this one right here, this is a page by itself. Like, it's not connected to this page or this page. It's folded like this and then taped on this edge, and then both pieces were taped like this. This is because it was a page that was added later. I probably could fix that, but I'm not going to. But basically, each edge is labeled. Both sides that will go together and then get taped together are labeled. So this one, for example, would be labeled like, I think that one's like 7 or 6. So these would both be labeled that same thing, so that when you fold them together, you can tape them here tape them along this edge, and then add them to the rest of the pages. And that's basically how physically in real life you would make this booklet. But I'm going to be, of course, going over all the instructions properly, so you can just listen to that, or you make the booklet yourself, or you can just print out the pages and you don't need to make the booklet. I'm just going to go ahead and explain the entire booklet, read through all the rules, so that if you want to hear the rules just through this video, you can hear the rules through the video. Otherwise, you can follow this just to see how it's printed, or if you want to hear the rules and then print the document yourself, you can do that as well. So this first page, this is the first page, it's the front cover of the book, and this is the back cover of the book. So basically, the booklet will be folded along this line, and all the other pages will be inside of these, with this being the back, this being the front. He's upside down because if he's right side up, then the booklet seems weird, because this is actually the bottom edge of the booklet, and this is the top. I'm not sure why it's organized in this manner, but that's how I did it. Anyway, so this is the first page. As you can see, this edge would be the first page edge. The other side of this booklet, you'll tape the first page of a different document to this page on the other side. And this is the 17th page, so you'll print the last page and cut it out and then stick it to this side of this page, and then tape it down. Just thought I'd run through quickly how to do that again. Here we got book 1. This is the next document, which here's the first page that would be taped to the other side of the cover, and here's page 2. And this is just the index. I got some fancy cards thrown down here just to style it up a little bit. And it just shows that first we go over the overview, rules/setup, then the maps and shops are explained, then the map nodes are explained, then all the cards. It's just a 2-page explanation of how the cards are and what defines them. Then we explain the bosses and the battles, and then there's a list of all the sigils, and then the extra information basically just goes over secret abilities that are mainly presented by rare cards. Setup. For the setup, start by laying the scale to one side of the play area. Prepare the map detailed in maps/shops, shuffle the main cards deck, organize one out of each rare card, then shuffle the now halved rare deck. Set aside the extra cards deck, and finally give one player the 12 squirrel cards and for their side deck, and the other player will receive the 12 rabbit cards for their side deck. Both players will then receive 5 rabbit pelts and lay out the first map to begin. Play from this point on will consist of mapping to gain and upgrade cards in your main deck. When mapping, you have the map out in the play area. When you reach a battle on the map, temporarily place the map aside and pull out the battle template. After the battle has ended, return the map and continue. When both players reach the final boss battle and the winner is decided, the game ends. Cleanup consists of putting back all the sigil, campfire, and mycologist and power-changing add-ons that were used in their upgrade for your cards. Return all the cards to their deck holders and place away the map and other miscellaneous parts. And then here's an example of what the scale looks like. Main cards deck is this back, rare cards deck have this back, extra card deck has this back, and then the squirrel and rabbit side decks have the squirrel and rabbit side decks. Again, I can also note that you can, if you wanted to highlight these, copy them and put them in your own instruction booklet if you want to do it slightly differently. That is totally a possibility. All of this is copyable, so you can do whatever you want with it, or you can just write it out yourself if you have a different method of doing it. But I will, of course, be going through all the instructions. So, alrighty, here is where things might start getting a little more confusing. But over here we've got page 3, which is the same page as the last one, which is on this side, and it goes over the map. We'll begin to prepare the map, select the 5 special maps, sort them in order of bosses, first, second, third, fourth, and final, and place 2 random maps between each of them. When starting the mapping process, the squirrel player gets the speed going first advantage. This means in order to make the first battle fair, it is considered a boss battle, and the second player there will receive a smoke. Also notably, the first boss battle is technically a boss battle, so it would give both players a rare upon finishing it, but there is no extra life rewarded like all other bosses because it's the first battle, and so an extra life would just make things take longer than necessary. The basic concept of mapping will play out in this fashion. Players take turns moving along the dotted lines, stopping at each node, and using it as directed in map nodes. When a player reaches a battle, they will be considered the player who goes first in the battle, when both players reach it. So basically, if you're the person, the going first person, so the squirrels will always go first on the first map node. Uh, if you're the one ahead right now in like speed or whatever, you go first. And if you win the next battle, when you win a battle, you will go first afterwards, meaning that you'll now be the player that'll go first at the next battle. During a boss battle, the second player to arrive there will receive a smoke in their starting hand. Players who had received a smoke in their last boss battle will instead receive a greater smoke. So when playing a second 2 bosses in a row, the player will receive a stronger version of the smoke card. This is to explain how, basically, if you lose 2 bosses in a row, you'll receive a stronger smoke. Or 1 boss in a row, basically. If you get there second twice in a row. Now, before I move over here, we've got to go up here, because this page, like I said, this is the first page, it's kind of weird. This folds over here, and then it gets slotted right here, in between this page and this page. But it would start over here, and then this page would be on the other side. So, extra nodes on the map. For a shorter game, place only 1 map between each boss. Am I already doing this wrong? Oh, no. You have to place 2 random maps between each of them. So each map, between each boss map, you'd place 2 extra maps. But if you want to play a shorter game, only place 1 map between each boss. And for a true test of the better player, keep track of how many bosses or battles in general you win in comparison to your opponent. And if you are doing this, you should award extra points for winning boss battles, and especially the final boss. This is basically a rule you can do if you want to make a more fair battle. Because basically, in my version of the game, the winner is whoever wins the final boss battle. No matter how many other battles they lost, if they win the final battle, they're the winner. So this would be a way to make you know if you were the better player or not. Or if you want to play with those rules as the true test of who won, you can do that as well. And of course, this is just saying to find the special maps, to look for the special boss node. There's only 1 map with each one of these nodes. So this is the first boss, or this is the first boss. This is the second boss, third boss, fourth boss, final boss. Then this would be on the same side as this shop, which is showing off the buy pelts, sell pelts, and how much each one of these pelts costs, and just explaining the mycologist pelts. So this is the page that actually has that information on it, which is these are the 5 different, these 5 nodes are the 3 different shops in the game. These shops use the teeth, which are extra damage coins collected from winning battles, as currency for buying them, or for buying items. When reaching the buy pelts node, you may buy as many pelts as desired. Rabbit pelts cost 3 teeth, wolf pelts cost 7 teeth, and golden pelts cost 11 teeth. These pelts are kept to the side until you reach a sell pelts node, which is, this is the buy pelts node, this is the sell pelts node. These pelts are kept to the side until you reach a sell pelts node. When reaching this node without pelts, you will gain 5 teeth. With pelts, however, you will buy cards according to the pelt type, 1 card per pelt. Rabbit pelt, lay out 8 random cards, and you can buy one card per pelt that you have that is a rabbit type. Wolf pelt, you'll lay out 6 random cards and 6 random cards on top to show the added sigil for that card at the top. And I explained this in my example video, but basically you'll draw 2 cards, and one of them is the card that's actually being sold, and the other card is the card that's sigil is going to be added to that card. So if you draw 2 cards and the one that's supposed to be adding a sigil to it doesn't have a sigil, you just redraw until you get one that does, which it doesn't happen very often, honestly. It's usually the cards will have a sigil. So that's how that works. And then finally, gold pelts, well, not finally, there's also mycologists, but gold pelts lay out 4 random rare cards. Mycologist pelt, when selecting cards, all the selected will receive a mycologist add-on for that pelt type. So example, if you had 3 rabbit pelts, and one of those rabbit pelts was a mycologist rabbit pelt because you combined it at a mycologist, all the pelts in that layout, you'll lay out the 8 random cards, but all the cards you drew from that would have the mycologist add-on to them. And I can believe we can go next. Here's the other 5. This is the sigil shop. When reaching the buy sigils node, draw out 4 random sigil cards. Here are the sigil cards. This is their back. They're another set of mini cards, just like the pelts are. And here's the buy sigils node, by the way. Here's the add sigils node. You'll draw out 4 random sigil cards. The price of the sigil is described in the upper left of the card. So here's the price of this one. Here's the price of this one. Here's the price of this one. And you can buy up to the 4 cards that are shown. Then set them aside until you reach an add sigils node, which is this. And you may add a sigil add-on of the same type of sigil to any of the cards in your deck. And this process will consume the sigil card. Reaching the add sigils node without any grants you 5 teeth. Another note, crack is another one of these sigils. It's not a shop sigil, it's just a normal sigil. If you get to an add sigils node and you have sigils from a crack usage, you can add them in the same way. And then the last shop is the power shop. When reaching this node, you may buy 1 power modifier for 10 teeth. If you ignore the modifier, you gain 10 teeth instead. The modifier types are ant power, which is this one, and it's equal to 1 power per card that has ant power on the board. For example, if you have 2 cards on your side that have ant power, the power of each one of those cards is 2. If you had 3 cards on your board that had ant power, it'd be equal to 3. If you only had 1, it'd be equal to 1. Bone power, which is this one, is equal to 1 for every 2 bones you have currently. Hand power, which is this one, is equal to the number of cards in your hand. And mirror power is equal to the power that the card opposing it has, which is more effective when you have things like airborne or bifurcated strike. The rest of the map nodes. So these are the map nodes that are not shops, but specifically just power-up abilities. Other than the nodes we already discussed in the bosses/battles node, discussing in bosses and battles, there are 11 different nodes for improving your deck and helping improve your chances at winning. Start things out, let's go over campfire. These 2 nodes work similarly. When reaching one, you can give a card an add-on based on the campfire type, power or health. After using the campfire, you can push your luck for a second use. Flip a coin. Heads, second use of the fire. Tails, burn the card. Remove it from your deck. If you burn a ringworm or a card with the Touch of Death sigil, you will receive a double fire card. This is one of those extra cards. It's this one actually right here, which basically just means that every single time, well actually it says right here, this allows you to get the second flame without risk of burning a card. It also means you cannot burn cards you want to get rid of. And here are the 2 map nodes. This one is for attack, and it gives you a +1 every time you use it, and this is for health, and it gives you a +2 every time you use it. If you push for your luck with the attack campfire, you'd get a +2 to attack, and if you push for your luck with a health campfire, you can get a +4 to your health. Once you get to a node that is another one of these, whether it's this one or this one, you can add more to this sigil. For example, I have, if I can do this quick, I don't think my recording will mess this up, but if I just go into a file quick and pull out an example, here's an example of a sigil that would be if you had a +3 to attack and +4 to health. So basically what I'm saying is that the campfire add-on can be stacked with more campfire. So as long as you have campfire on a card, you can keep stacking more campfire onto that card without having to put another add-on onto it. Next, we've got the Bone Lord. When reaching the Bone Lord node, you must select a card from your deck to be sacrificed, removed from your deck to replace it, and receive a reward as follows. If you sacrifice a normal card, 1 bone at the battle start, which is this card. It shows you get 1 bone at the beginning of every battle. Rare cards will give you a 4 bones at battle start. That's this card. It's a 4 bone bonus. And if you sacrifice either a black goat or a rat king, you'll get 8 bones at the battle start. And that's what this card is. Also notably, this is what the Bone Lord node looks like. Next, we've got Mystery Cave, which here's the node for it. It's when you reach this node, draw out 3 cards to represent added sigils to the next 3 cards. It's exactly the same as we did for the wolf pelt selling, where you draw 2 cards, and the bottom card you drew is the sigil that's being added to the first card, and you lay that out 3 times. So you have 3 sets of 2 cards. Add one of these cards to your deck if you passed the card's trial or test. The first card is the test of power. You'll draw 3 random cards from your deck, and you pass if their combined power is over 7. The second card, or the middle card, the test of health. Draw out 3 random cards from your deck. You pass if their combined health is over 10. And the third card, or the last card, is the test of sigils. Draw out 3 random cards from your deck. You pass if they're combined. If combined, they have over 5 sigils. And in any situation where you don't pass, you don't get any of the cards. And if you pass one of these, you'd have to select a card that you picked. So if you pick the test of health, you have to take the middle card if you pass it. And of course, this is page 6, this is page 7, and this 7 edge connects with this 7 edge. Crack. When reaching this node, you must sacrifice 1 card in your deck, gaining all of its sigils and add-on sigils as sigils that can be placed on other cards at the Add Sigils node. I talked about this earlier when I was talking about the Buy Sigils and Add Sigils shop, but basically, if you had a card that had, like, say it was like a black goat, so it had the Mighty Sacrifice or Worthy Sacrifice sigil, if you cracked that, it would give you this as an addable sigil. Now, say you had a black goat that had the Alpha's sigil added to it, you would get the addable Alpha sigil, but you would also get the black goat thing. Say that same card also had the Mycologist add-on, you would not get the Mycologist add-on, you would only get the sigil add-ons. Next, we have Morsel. At this node, draw 2 random cards and let one of them eat a card offering from your deck. The offering card will be removed and its add-ons will be added to the card joining your deck in its stead. So basically, you'll draw a card. This is the node, by the way. You'll draw a card. You'll draw 2 cards actually from the deck and pick one of them to be replacing a card in your current deck. And all the things that were on that current card will be transferred instead over to the card you just added to your deck. Merging stones. This is pretty self-explanatory if you've played Inscryption before, but I'm going to explain it again anyway. When reaching this node, you can take 2 cards from your deck. One will be receiving the sigils from the other in the form of add-ons matching the sigil type. The other will be removed from your deck. It is important to note that transferring 2 sigils transferring 2 sigil cards to a card which already has an add-on will cause you to pick the sigil added between the 2 sigils. This is because every card can only have up to 2 add-ons on them. I believe I explained that in in part of the instructions later on, but I'll say it right now. Every card can only have 2 add-ons. And basically, if you have a card like the Kingfisher, which has flying and waterborne, it will, if you transfer both of those onto a card that already has an add-on, you'd only be able to add one of those sigils onto the card. Mycologist. When reaching this node, you can combine a card you have 2 of, give one of the cards the Mycologist add-on, then remove the copy from your deck. The add-on will cause the card it is on to have its power and health of the original card doubled. You can also do this to a pelt to receive a Mycologist pelt of the same type. If you reach the node without duplicates, then draw until you find a duplicate card in your deck and add that card to your deck. Return the rest to the main deck and shuffle. So basically, if you reach this without a duplicate card, you'll just draw until you get a duplicate card, and then you'll add just that duplicate to your deck. And then the rest of the cards that were drawn to try to find a duplicate would be returned to the deck, and the deck will be shuffled. Pick random card. At this node, draw 3 random cards and select 1 to add to your deck. Pick cost card. At this node, you'll have your opponent draw 4 cards and ask based off of cost of the cards to add 1 to your deck. So, for example, they could draw a card that costed 1 blood, 2 blood, 3 blood, and 4 bones, and then you'd have to pick a card based off of how many blood, bones, or both the card costs. Pick tribe card. At this node, you'll have your opponent draw 5 random cards and ask based off of the tribe of the card to add 1 to your deck. And the tribe can be determined by the tribe list card, which I showed earlier in the Google Docs area. So basically, say they pull out a canine, feline, aviary, hooved, And reptile, you could decide, oh, I want to hope that I get a wolf cub, so you say, I'll take the canine. Next we'll be leading into book 5, which has a few more pages than the other pages, but this one is page 8, again combining with the other page shown before, and this is just going to be a breakdown of each card, so explaining the add-on slots right here, the cost, which I explained blood cost here and bone cost here. This is a picture of the portrait, and a card with no base sigils, sigils on a base card, card's power is here, card's health is here, and then the card title is right here. And this is 10, so we'll come back to that in a second, but here's the page that'll be going right here instead, because this one's folded in on itself, is the other side of the cards, which explains free cost, bone and blood costs, such as Pack Mule, which has a bone and blood cost. Some explanations of sigils that weren't explained in this one, because this one shows off a sigil add-on and a campfire add-on. Here's one that's just health for the campfire, and here's a mycologist add-on. And then here's another sigil, and here's a power changer. So for example, this Pack Mule has bone power instead of regular power right now. So the card's power is currently equal to half the number of bones you have because of this sigil, or add-on. And this card's health is currently equal to 6, because it has double health from the mycologist, and it has +4 to its HP because of the campfire. Next up, if you turn this page, it'll be this one, and this is explaining the battles. And this is also the setup for the entire game. At least this is the way I set it up, where the battle is in the middle. We've got our 2 side decks right next to the main decks for each player. The maps are right here. Scales on this side next to the bells, and then you'll have your pile for bones, or your pile for bones is right here. And then you've got your pelts, your cash, and over here are your collection types. Or actually, over here is your collection types. This stuff right here is just the decks of cards. And, of course, we can go to the next one, which is 10. So now we'll go over here, and this is just starting to explain the battles. When checking, attacks and sigils always move from left to right. Note that your opponent will be doing this from right to left when checking the movement of cards. This is because they'll be facing the other direction. So since you're looking this direction, like if I drew an arrow here, you're looking that direction because you're on this side of the board. So you'll be checking from this card this direction, but since they're the opposite of you, they'll be checking from this card to this direction, because for them, this is left to right. And here's an example. When the up player attacks, down will want to defend with the mole man, but because cards are checked from left to right, the mole will guard instead. The mole man would, of course, survive this attack because it has 6 health, but the mole has to defend because it is the card that's closer to the left. When battling, start the scale in the middle. When a player deals damage directly to the enemy, tip the scale. Move the arrow along the marks on the scale toward the enemy side. When it reaches the 8th mark on either side, the battle will end with the winner being the one who tipped the scale last. When the scale is tipped all the way, and there is extra damage remaining, it is given to the winner as teeth, represented as coins placed to their side. And those coins would be placed on your little money section right here. And if the battle is a boss battle, both players will have a second chance at battling. Basically, whenever the tail is tipped to your side, it will reset, and you can place a coin on the scale indicating that you have lost one of your lives. Then after the scale tips to your side again, you'll actually lose the battle. The final boss has 3 lives, also notably. With the first battle also does not have a second life. The first boss battle does not have an extra life. And if the player winning on a boss battle will receive 10 teeth if they can save their life. So basically, if you, in a boss battle, are able to keep your life, like you don't lose your life, but you kill the enemy's extra life and then kill them for good, then you receive 10 teeth as a reward for that. The next side of 10 is over here. And this is just going to go over some basic battle principles. When your turn starts, you must draw a card. You may draw a random card from your shuffled deck or your side deck. On your turn, you may play as many cards as you want, but you must pay their cost, which is either blood, bones, or both. To pay blood, you must sacrifice a card for each blood required. These cards are removed from the current battle. They are not removed from the run and will be returned to you at the end of the battle, although. To pay bones, you must spend the bones you have accumulated throughout the battle. A bone is collected every time a card on your side dies. At the end of your turn, all the cards on your side will attack the card opposing it. If no card opposes it, the damage will be dealt to the scale. When a card is attacked, and the power of the attacking card is smaller than the health of the attacked card, the damage should be noted. When playing a card, place coins on it for each health and remove the coins as the card takes damage. The final coin of health can be used as a bone gained from the card's death. That's kind of like more of a tip because it's kind of useful. If a player is unable to draw a card during a battle because they have run out, the opponent player is given a starvation card, which they can play because the starvation card has a free cost. At the end of each boss battle, draw out 4 random rares. The winning player picks a card first, and then the loser. From the second set of rares, then replace the cards that were just selected by the players in the random rares deck. This just basically makes it so that you can't draw 2 of the same rare card in the same, like at the end of the same battle. So basically, you'll have, we'll use the Gek as an example. You'll have, when you draw out the rares, you'll have one Gek in the rare deck, and then after a player takes that Gek, you'll put the second Gek in the deck. In the rare deck. That way, if they are able to draw a second Gek, they have a chance to mycologize it. And then extra notes, we have there can only be 4 cards on your side of the board and 4 on your opponent's side. As such, only 8 cards can ever be in play at one time, and you cannot remove a card from the board unless it is killed or sacrificed. I put this one quickly down because some people thought you could just take a card away from the battle whenever they wanted, which is not true. It has to be removed via sacrifice or being killed. And finally, bones do not carry over from battle to battle. Whenever a battle starts, the only bones you would receive is the bones from Bone Lord sacrifices in Book 6. And we'll start over here, page 11, which is the other side of the other page 11, which we just finished. Starting out, we have Rabbit's Hole. When this card is played, you gain a rabbit from the extra cards deck. Bees Within. When this card is struck, gain a bee, also from the extra cards deck. Sprinter. At the end of the owner's turn, move to the right. If the edge of the board or a card is in the way, turn and start moving to the left. This can be indicated with a coin. Touch of Death. A card bearing the sigil will kill any card it attacks. Burrower. When a card attacks an empty space on your side of the board, this card will move to block its strike. Hoarder. On play, draw a selected card from your deck. Not your side deck, but your deck. Loose Tail. If this card would be struck, move to the right and place a tail card on the space that would be struck. If the right is blocked, then move left. After moving once, place a coin to show that the sigil has been used. Note that the tail will also copy all add-ons the card it comes from had. Corpse Eater. When a creature perishes in combat, this sigil will autoplay the card that is attached to it in that space. Sacrifice Eater. When a creature perishes via sacrifice, this sigil will autoplay this card in that space. Waterborne. At the start of opponent's turn, flip this card to allow the attack to hit the scale. Flip back at the start of your turn. Cannot be on a card that also possesses Fledgling. This part is added mainly because my system has the flip over side of cards be waterborne, but you wouldn't have to use this rule if you didn't want to. This is Ant Spawner. When this card is played, gain a worker ant. Now let's move up to the other side of 12, which is over here. Unkillable. When this card dies, place it back in your hand. Sharp Quills. When this card is struck, deal 1 damage to the attacker. Hefty. At the end of owner's turn, move to the right, pushing cards in its path. If the edge of the board is in its way, turn and start moving left. And that can be indicated with a coin, just same as Sprinter. Guardian. During the enemy's turn, when a card is played, this card will try to oppose it. Airborne. This card will ignore opposing cards in attack scale directly. Wait, in attack scale direct? It should be the scale. And Airborne. This card will ignore opposing cards and attack the scale directly. Many lives. This card can be sacrificed over and over. Special cards explained later. That's notifying that the Child 13 and the Cat, which are the only cards in the game that have this sigil by default, both have a special effect to do with it. But if you transfer this onto a card that doesn't have any special effects, it would just be infinite sacrifice. Worthy sacrifice. This card counts for 3 blood when being sacrificed. And when this is mixed with many lives, it can be used 3 times only. And you can show that using coins. This is mainly because there's a card in the game called Pharaoh's Pets, which I added, and it has this sigil and this by default on it. And if you could sacrifice that over and over again, it is a little OP. So, anyway, that's a special rule for when you mix these 2 sigils. Mighty Leap. This card disables the airborne sigil on cards attacking its space. So basically, if this sigil is in front of, you're opposing this sigil will be cancelled out and just attack the card that has Flight Blocker on it. Or Mighty Leap, I guess it's called. Lure. When a card with this card disables the waterborne sigil on the card it's attacking. So basically, it's the exact same as airborne, except it'll take the card that's going underwater out of the water and attack it. Made of Stone. This card disables the Touch of Death and Stinky sigils on cards attacking and opposing it. So basically, the Touch of Death would not insta-kill a card that has this sigil, it would just do the normal damage, and Stinky would not cause it to lose 1 attack. It would just stay the same as normal. Steel Trap. When this card is killed, also kill the card opposing it. Not the card that attacked it, but the card opposing it. Steel Shield. This card will take 1 less damage when attacked. Leader. Cards adjacent to this card gain 1 power. And the other side of 13 is over here. Stinky. An opposing card will have 1 less power. Bellist. When adjacent cards are struck, attack the attacker. King Leader. All cards on your side gain 1 power. Bifurcated Strike. This card will attack to the left in front and the right in front. Trifurcated Strike. This card will attack the front and to the left and right in front. Poisonous Quills. When this card is struck, the attacker will perish. Armor. When this card is attacked, ignore all damage. After use, place a coin to show that the sigil has been exhausted. Brimstone. This card will deal extra damage from killing a card to the scale. So, that is kind of explained badly, but basically, if you have like a card that does 5 damage with Brimstone, and it attacks a 2 health target, it would deal the extra 3 damage to the scale. Because it would deal 5 damage, take away 2 from killing the card, and then the excess 3 damage would be dealt to the scale. Clinger. This card moves 1 space toward a card played on your side. Draw cards. When this card is played, draw 2 cards. Can be random from the deck or from the side deck. Draw Death. Draw any card that died on your side. This is also on play. Target. When attacking, select any space to hit. When mixed with bi- or trifurcated attacks, the targeting will happen 2 or 3 times respectively. Grave Digger. On your turn start, gain 1 bone. Cornered Strike. When a card moves or is played opposing this card, attack it. When mixed with bi- or trifurcated strikes, the attack will happen 2 or 3 times respectively. Now this was page 15. I kind of read them a little out of order because this page is in between these 2 pages. It's 14, it goes right here. But I'll read this one now. We got Bone Pile. A card bearing this sigil will drop 4 bones on death. Frozen Soul. When this card is destroyed, flip it for its second form. When transferring this sigil to another card, also move the secondary add-on to another card that you have in your deck. This means that from now on, when playing, the first card you gave the sigil to also play the second card underneath it, so you can flip it to its sigil, flip it on its sigil use. So basically, if you transfer this Frozen Soul Sigil onto a card in your deck, you'd put this one on a different card, and then that card becomes the card that's frozen within the card that has this one. And Alternator works the same way with moving this sigil onto a card. It would put this one on a different one to have its alternate form be that. But Alternator is, at the start of your turn, cards already on the board with this sigil will flip. Note that the health stays consistent between both forms. When transferring the sigil, you can, again, target a secondary card is copy and pasted from this one. Same thing. Fledgling. At the start of your turn, cards already on the board with this sigil will flip. Note that health lost will not be replenished, such as if a card with 2 health loses 1 before transforming, its second form will have 1 less health. When transferring the sigil to another card, note that only 6 cards and cards with the loose tail sigil can receive its use. When Fledgling is on a card which also has a loose tail, at the start of your turn you can replenish the loose tail. Remove the coin on the sigil. When you add Fledgling to a card on the list below, you will grab their upgrade from the Extra Dex deck. So a cat will turn into the Undead Cat when it has Fledgling. The Alpha will turn into the Omega with Fledgling. The Elk, the Moose Buck. The Mole Man. And if you have a Skink with Fledgling, when you summon the loose tail, it would have Fledgling on it. And so if you have a loose tail that has Fledgling because you put it on your Skink, that loose tail will turn into a Skink, but the Skink won't have the loose tail sigil. Alrighty, and now finally we'll go over the extra section, which is the pages before the final page, which is just the back. So, we'll start with, these are basically just special instructions for specific cards. Pretty much all of them are rare cards, except for Starvation and Glitch. But we'll start with the Ouroboros, which the Ouroboros gets a +1/+1 whenever it uses its sigil, +1 being to +1 to health, +1 to damage. And whenever it uses its sigil, and you'll use the special Ouroboros add-on to show this. So basically, when it's got the Ouroboros +1, that means it's a 2/2. If it's got the +5, it's a 6/6, because it's +5 to this and this. And it goes all the way up to a +9. So maximum Ouroboros in my game is a 10/10. The Amalgam can have up to 3 add-ons instead of the normal 2. So the Amalgam has a special slot right here for a 3rd add-on, and then of course the normal 2 right here and here. So the Amalgam can have 3 add-ons on it. That's its ability, basically. The card Starvation has a special sigil, causing the card to be unattackable and thus unkillable. It is actually, I believe, technically killable if you have quills. But, yeah, that's the Starvation card. The Cat card can be sacrificed 9 times. After this, flip the card to become the Undead Cat. Giving the cat the Fledgling sigil will cause the cat to transform in 1 turn. And this was explained in the other page, which is just explaining Fledgling. But yeah, the cat can turn into the Undead Cat with a Fledgling symbol, or you can sacrifice it 9 times. And you can use coins to show that it's being transformed. The Child 13 will flip every time you use this, every time you sacrifice it, because it's got the mini lives. So basically, it has this form, and whenever you sacrifice it, it changes to between the forms. The Glitch card will turn into a random card upon drawing it during a battle. The advantage this card is that you can put up to 4 add-ons on it, and upon drawing your random card, select the ones to add from the glitch, and then the add-ons will return upon the battle end. So basically, the glitch has up to 4 add-ons, and you'll put the card next to it, and then you'll have the add-ons from the glitch that is on that random card for that battle. And the final 2 pages, because 16 is connected to this page right here, and then 17 is connected to the back, which I explained first about the booklet. So this is the final page. So we have the Squirrel Ball, which has the special ability to play a squirrel on any space the Squirrel Ball moves out of. The base card has the Sprinter Sigil, although adding any movement sigil to the card will activate this effect. So if you added Clinger to it, it would, every time a card is played on your side, it'll move towards that card and thus play a squirrel where it left. If it had the the block from the mole, and it blocked multiple attacks, it would play a squirrel after moving from each attack. If it had Guardian, it would move to oppose a card, and wherever it moved from, it would add a squirrel there. And if you gave it Hefty, it would push cards out of the way and place a squirrel behind where it moved from. I think that's all the movement-based abilities, but all of those will cause it to bring on a squirrel. The card Strange Pupa has a special fledgling sigil that takes 2 turns to transform, so you'll mark the extra turn with a coin. And that's because I didn't have a card only has 2 sides, so I couldn't flip the card 3 times. But the card Easy Rock will copy the cost, portrait, and add-ons from the card you drew alongside it during battle. But instead of being whatever stats it has, it'll be a 4/1 with Stinky. And this sigil just means that it can't actually be added. You can't add add-ons to the Easy Rock itself. And finally, the card Amoeba has a Made of Stone sigil, although when on the Amoeba, this sigil will grant the card extra effects. All attack-based sigils aimed at the Amoeba will be ineffective, and all defensive/on-death sigils will not activate when attacked by the Amoeba. So, for example, if the Amoeba attacked the Ouroboros, it would not be put back into your hand, and it would not gain a +1/+1, because those are both attached to the actual sigil itself, and that's an on-death ability. Another effect would be if you gave the Amoeba flying, and then it attacked a fly-blocked card, it would fly over the card, because it's Made of Stone sigil would cause their fly blocker to be cancelled. Another example would be if the card has the armor, or it's technically in the base game it's called Nano Armor, but I changed it to armor so it fit more with Leshy's theme. If the Amoeba attacked a card with that sigil, it would go right through the armor and just attack the health. It would ignore the armor completely. And the defensive capabilities, where it says the attack-based sigils, for example, if there was a card right here that had Bifurcated Strike that's going to attack the Amoeba, it would not. It would attack this way, and then it would not attack the Amoeba because it's an attack-based sigil. Or if it had Brimstone, if the Brimstone attacked the Amoeba and killed it, it would not transfer any extra damage onto your scale, because the Amoeba's Made of Stone sigil would cancel that. Anywho, that is pretty much the entire booklet. I think I explained the maps decently in my real-life section of the video, but basically the maps, there's a document in the Google Docs that is just the maps. You can change the cards, like I think I showed you in the first card video, but basically change the cards with shape format right here. You'll go shape fill, and down in the click down is image, and you'll just change the image to whatever map you want to put in right away, and you'll just change the map to whatever map you want to add and print out next. And you basically just need to print each map once. And for the booklet, you only need to print each of these pages once, and then you'll just put them together like I explained earlier, where like 16, this edge of 16 would go against this edge of 16, and you tape them together. And I think that's everything. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. We got one more part that's coming for part 4, and that's going to be explaining the box and the smaller bits, like where you can buy the little rabbit figures and things like the card decks, or the card deck holders, or how you make those. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and bye.